Hi everyone, Becky here, K9 Nation, day 10 of Paws on Tour. I'm currently sat in Thetford Forest, or somewhere very near to Thetford Forest. I was a little bit naughty and skived off doing last night's video diary. My boyfriend was here with me and we might have been a little bit drunk and I kind of forgot to do it, so sorry about that. So as a consequence, got lots to catch up on for tonight's diary. So what was yesterday? Saturday. We were in Cambridge and we couldn't go onto the campsite till 1 o'clock, which seems to be a trend on campsites. I think you have to leave by 12 and new arrivals can't come in before 1. So we wanted to get into Cambridge nice and early. So I'd researched that you could do park and ride from the outskirts of Cambridge, and there's one, it's called Punting, and you can take oversized vehicles in there because I obviously have to be careful of how high this vehicle is. So I researched the park and ride and it's brilliant. It's free to park there for up to 18 hours. So my boyfriend drove down from sort of the Leeds area and we both met there, and then we queued up and got on the bus, and they're every 10 minutes and they go straight into the city centre, and it only takes about 5-10 minutes at the most depending on what the traffic's like. And it's the first time Buddy had ever been on a bus and he was absolutely brilliant. No one made a fuss, as in like was upset that he was on there. Some of the ladies were sort of giving him a scratch behind the ears and seemed to like him, but he was a little star as usual, sort of took it all in his stride. And then we arrived into Cambridge. It was quite busy. There's a lot of tour groups in Cambridge. Obviously it's quite a tourist attraction with the university being there. So I was trying to think about it from Buddy's point of view, with just legs of masses of crowds everywhere. So we kept trying to go to places like sides of the street where it wasn't so busy. But one of the main things we'd arranged to do when we got to Cambridge was go punting, which is like quite a traditional thing to do on the Thames. And if you don't know what punting is, it's kind of like when you see people in gondolas in Venice. So there's someone stood on the back of the boat with a big old pole in the water pushing you along. And we'd done some research before we came down to Cambridge, and there was just one company we found that was dog friendly, and that was called Scudamores. I think I've pronounced that right. So we'd been in contact and they'd said that we could go and have a tour, a 45-minute tour of the Thames and the back of the colleges for free, which was so generous of them. So we got there and we booked on a tour, and I think but he was crying a little bit when he was in the queue. A lot of people around, and we were sort of on the little bit on the side, the jetty where you get on the boat, and I was absolutely bricking it. I was like, he's gonna try and jump in, he's gonna be barking at the ducks and the geese, he's gonna be just like ruining the tour for everyone, he's not gonna settle. And I couldn't have been more wrong. We got on board. There were about maybe 8 other people on the boat with us as well. They're quite big and they're quite stable, and he just went to sleep between me and my boyfriend, just in the middle. He was like watching a little bit as we were going past places, but as the tour guide Ben just took us down the Thames, pointing out all the different buildings, telling us all the history. Brilliant job, by the way, Ben. Really informative. He just went fast asleep. I don't know what I was worried about. We really enjoyed it. It's quite eventful. Couple of little incidents. The Thames on a Saturday is just insane. So there's lots of different professional punting tours that are going on. So you've got all their own little branded people in like polos going down, so that's busy. And there's meant to be rules on the Thames where you go down the right hand side. I asked if there are any rules, and he's like, you always have to go down the right hand side, and if the person in the boat in front drops their pole, it's etiquette that the next person along picks it up to give it to them. But other than that, it's a free-for-all. And as well as the professional tours, people can just rent the smaller ones to do privately, and some of them people just haven't got a clue what they are doing. They are an absolute nightmare. So we had a bit of an incident where a guy had kind of stopped in front of us as we were coming under a bridge, and he'd got his pole stuck, and there's not really a brake on a punt. Like, you can kind of put your pole in the back a bit, but there's no brake, you can't stop. And we ended up knocking into the back of this guy who had his wife and his sort of teenage daughter in, and he fell backwards onto our boat, luckily like not into the water. And there ensued a bit of a ruckus. Some foul language by the guy, which wasn't very nice because there were kids in our boat, but it's a little bit tense on board. But he picks up on tension so easily, so he kind of sat up and he was just sort of shaking, and so I was kind of comforting him, making sure he was okay. But it passed. It was something and nothing. The guy wasn't hurt. He got up and carried on. I think he was just a little bit more embarrassed than anything. And then something similar happened, but on the way back when we turned round, in that someone had caused carnage already before we even got there, and then someone had put their pole in, and to turn, and our boat banged into the pole, which sent this guy off balance. And I think he was even a proper tour guide as well, because he had a whole boat full. It wasn't just like a narrow private one, and he just completely lost his balance, gave up and leapt in the water. So then was swimming around in the Thames. So I was just like, oh my word, like it was just so eventful. And poor Ben, he was just like, well, yeah, that's something else that's happened. And us on board, we just couldn't believe it. It was so entertaining, as well as all the history about Cambridge, which is fascinating, but I just couldn't believe it. It was amazing. Feel sorry for the guy that went in the water, but I guess that's a hazard of doing the tours. So yeah, that was quite funny. Brilliant 45 minutes, even better that we hadn't paid for it, but I think normally it's about 19 quid if you pay online, or £22 if you pay on the day when you get at the kiosk. But I think it's worth it. You learn and see so much of Cambridge, and the history of all the different bridges, and the fact that they, you know, all have different architects and the stories behind them, and the history of Henry VIII and things like that. So yes, that was great. And then we found a really nice little dog friendly pub for lunch, which I'll write up about in my blog. Had some food, and then we went and got some nibbles for dinner that evening, and then we got the park and ride bus back, and it was the same place that we got dropped off at that we got back on it, and we went back, absolutely no hassle. We chilled out at the campsite for about half an hour, and then they recommended a dog friendly pub that was within about 20 minutes walking distance for us, and it was a Green King pub. And they are, there's loads of them down here. I've seen so many already, and it seems that the majority, I couldn't do a sweeping statement and say they're all dog friendly, but all the ones I've come across and gone into do happen to have been dog friendly, which is really good. So so we went to the pub, had a couple of drinks, and then we just came back, and we were going to have a barbecue, but I realised that I didn't have any bricks or anything to rest the little disposable barbecue on. I would have burnt a hole in the campsite ground, and that would not have been good. I would have not been popular. So we ended up just having sort of like tapas, cold meats and cheeses, and a bottle of red wine, which was lovely. And yeah, and then bedtime. So that was Saturday. Fun, eventful. I was relaxed. I enjoyed it. It was a lovely day, and although it was a little bit hectic in Cambridge itself, with it being a Saturday and there being lots of tours going on, so it was a bit hectic for Buddy, there were plenty of green spaces down by the river that you could step away from the city and let him have a stretch of his legs and have a bit of quiet time. So yeah, Saturday was brilliant fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to sign off for now with regards to Saturday and say goodnight, because I'm just looking at the length of this video and how long it is and how long it's going to take to upload. So I will call it a day there for my recap of day 9, and I will check back in a minute on a separate video and tell you all about today, which is day 10. So I will catch you in a minute. Thanks, bye guys.